Hey everybody, this is Cedric from 3D Bandit and welcome to the scary tutorial on how to make a scary pumpkin. Hey everybody, how are you doing? So for Halloween we're gonna make this super cool pumpkin. I'm gonna show you some tricks on how to achieve this look and make different kind of pumpkins really easily. So yeah, let's jump into it. Sorry if I get silly. I get dragged along the Halloween mood very fast. So, okay, I've got a new Blender file up here. And first thing I want to do is just delete everything. Yeah, we don't need that. So first off, we're gonna make our pumpkin. I'm just gonna make a plane. And going into edit mode, we're just gonna press Alt M. I'm gonna merge them, so we just have one single vertex over here. So then I'm going in the front view, and I'm just gonna make the half of the shape of a pumpkin. So if you look at reference images, you can tell that the pumpkin. I'm just gonna put it a little bit up here. I'll go in orthographic view. And pumpkins have like this very typical fruit shape. I'm just gonna put this in the middle here by going into here and press X0. It's gonna make the Y 0. Do the same with this. Yeah. So it should be good. I'm just gonna select them all. And if you have loop tools enabled, it's an add-on you can enable in the user preferences. If you just type in a loop, it should be there. Just enable that, and you can space them out so that the vertexes are all evenly spaced. Something like that. Don't use too much vertexes. Just, yeah, this should be enough. So I'm just gonna add another vertex at the top and the bottom for reasons. Okay, that should be good. Now we're going to use a modifier, namely the screw modifier, and you can see here we have a nice, well, it's not a pumpkin yet. You can see that the normals are inverted, that's why it looks so weird blue. You just have to check calculate order right here, and that should fix the issue. And I want to change the steps, because if you go into wireframe mode, you can see it has these like 16 steps, and you can increase and decrease. And we want to go somewhat between 20 and 28. I'm going for 24. It will determine how many like ridges on the pumpkin you have. So yeah, this should be good. And then we're just gonna apply. And then now, if you go into edit mode, you have this nice pumpkin. So I'm just gonna go into top mode and select the top and the bottom vertex and delete them, because we don't need them at this point. And I'm gonna do something fancy. I'm gonna go in edge mode, and if I press Ctrl Alt right click, it says Ctrl Alt, it doesn't show on the screencast keys for some reason. You can select ring loops. So as opposed to if you Alt right click, you can select edge loops, and if you Ctrl Alt right click, ring loops. If for some reason it doesn't work, you can also go to select and select edge loops. No, wait. Edge rings. That's the thing. You want to select edge rings. It's okay. Once you got these selected, you go into select and you press checker deselect. That will select like one every edge. And then we're gonna back into select, and then we're gonna press edge loops. So now we have one in every loop selected. It's a neat little trick. And so the next thing you just want to do is press Alt S to scale along the normals. As opposed to if you press normal S, you're just gonna bring them to their center point. Well, if you press Alt S, it will go more gradually, a little bit more organic. Okay, now pay attention. We're going back into vertex mode, and then we press Ctrl I. This will invert the selection, but if you do this in edge mode, I'm going to show you real quick, then you're going to select also these side edges, and you don't want that. So first go into vertex mode, press Ctrl I, and go back into edge mode. And we're going to press Ctrl B. This is going to bevel these edges. And we can see some funky stuff going down here. And we just want to make something like this. And it's good. I'm going to select them all, and in our toolbar here, press remove doubles. This will remove about 48 vertices. This should be double the amount of steps you did in the other part. So this already looks kind of like a pumpkin. We're going to apply a sub D modifier here. It's a bit not as sharp as the other pumpkin, but yeah. So now we're going to select our if you press Ctrl Z enough, you should get these things again. With these things still selected, we're going back into vertex mode and press Ctrl I again. And now we can adjust the ridges a little bit more by pressing Alt S. Make them a little bit more like this. This looks good. Now we're going to press Ctrl B again and make this a little bit sharper. So now you should have something like this, and this looks already pretty pumpkin-y. We're gonna close down the ridge a little bit, but we'll fix the hole in a second. Down the bottom, we're just gonna extrude this, go into the middle. Maybe bring this up a little. Yeah, because the bottom is not going to be visible a lot. Maybe if you're going to do some animation, you can do a little bit more work on this, but I'm just gonna close this up and press Ctrl T to make them triangles, and that should be good. Yeah, it's a little bit messy, but I'm not gonna use the bottom, so it doesn't really matter. And then up top, we're gonna up top we're gonna leave the hole. We're just gonna scale it down a little bit. But I'm gonna select this ring loop, and I'm gonna Shift D it, so I have this again. So I'm now holding a duplicate of this edge loop. Right click to leave it in its place, then press P to separate it and separate selection. So now I'm going back into object mode. I'm gonna select this ring loop. I'm going back into edit mode, make it smaller, and then extrude it like this. Select them all and press Ctrl N to recalculate your normals if they look a little bit funky. I'm gonna select the outer rim again. Gonna extrude it downwards and a little bit like this. This looks a little bit funky. Yeah, I'm gonna try again with another edge loop, something like this. Yeah, I'm gonna duplicate this. So it kind of depends on how your pumpkin looks and what you want to do with it. So I'm gonna, yeah, this looks a little bit better. I'm gonna make something like this. I'm gonna press Ctrl N, and I want to rotate them so that it kind of complements the crevices in here. And I'm just gonna scale this up a little. I'm just gonna extrude this up. Oh no, wait, you know what? I'm gonna go in side view. I'm gonna put the 3D cursor here. I'm just gonna press in the toolbar, you can press the spin button. And this makes something weird, but if you go bring the angle back to -40 something, you get something like this. And if we play with the center a little bit, like this, maybe do a little fewer steps. Yeah, 4 steps should be good. And it's a little less higher, perhaps. Okay, this is good. And I'm gonna press Alt-O, a lot of shortcuts in this tutorial, and this will enable the proportional adding to connect it. And if I now scale, you can see this circle, and it will influence like the other vertexes. And if I scroll, I can increase the influence. So I want to go about the beginning of the steel, I guess, and make it like this. This looks good. So I'm gonna press dot on the the period on the numpad to bring my view centered on the top of this thing. And I'm just gonna extrude again, disable proportional editing by pressing Alt-O again. Bring it in. I'm just gonna scale it down again, bring it a little bit in here, like this. And just Alt-M, collapse them, like this. I mean, if you zoom in here, you get some funky stuff. Also, you should put this on smooth shading. Hello. Smooth shading, yeah. But it looks okay. It's also very small detail, so now we have our basic pumpkin. Looks nice, doesn't it? So I'm gonna select the steel first, and then gonna select the pumpkin. Also gonna name them pumpkin, because naming is important. And steel, yeah, that's the Dutch word, I don't know the English word, sorry. And if I select the steel first and then the pumpkin, I can press Ctrl P to parent them. That's just for ease. Then if I move the pumpkin around, the steel comes along with it without me having to merge those two objects. So yeah, this looks already pretty cool. Maybe gonna bring in the a little bit more. Maybe scale this up a little. Yeah, this looks cool. Okay, so now we're going on to the next part where we will bring in the face. So you can use some tools for this, because I want to use a vector-based SVG, a scalable vector graphic, if I'm not, scalable vector graphics for this, because I think that's the easiest way to use. You can make them in Inkscape, that's free. You can make them in Blender, actually. But I think, well, I find it easiest in Illustrator. So I'm gonna just wait for it to start here. So once you get your vector program started, we're gonna make a face. So I'm gonna pick the pen tool. I'm gonna start off with the eyes. So I'm just gonna start making. I'm gonna make a somewhat different face from from the example. So I'm gonna make a little bit a sad face here. And then the mouth. I like using vectors because it enables me to yeah, you have a lot of freedom here. So I'm gonna select them. I'm just gonna, for preview purposes, disable the path up here and fill them up. And yeah, I have a pretty cool face here. Just want to bring in like some other shapes in here. I'm gonna rotate this around, bring this here. But you can make any face, really. So if I select these three objects and I use my pathfinder, I can very simply add some teeth to the mouth, which looks really cool. So yeah, this looks pretty red. And maybe one more detail, perhaps. I'm gonna, like this, gonna make a hole in the mouth, in the teeth, in the tooth. Wow. I'm gonna adjust this a little bit to make it a little bit sadder. And this looks good. This looks pretty cool for Halloween thing. You can make any shape basically. I mean, you can make a butterfly, a heart if you want a more Valentine-wise Halloween. Or you can really go all out with the details. Just be wary that if you have like smaller details, and I'll get into that a little bit later, your computer is going to ask more. Well, Blender is going to ask more of, from your computer. So once I have this, I'm going to go File, Save As. I'm going to go Halloween Pumpkin here. And I'm going to save this as SVG. I already have a pumpkin face here from the example. I'm going to call this sad face. Here we go. I'm going to save this as SVG 1.0. I mean, you have all these things, but I use the 1.0 just because it's safest. It's the most like, it's just factors, and that's all I want. I'm going to press OK. And there we have it saved. So now we're going to go back in here. I'm going to File, Import. I'm just going to go in another layer for the moment. File, Import, Scalable Vector Graphics. And I'm going to press the sad face. So now I should have curves. If I press dot here, I should zoom into them and you can see that they're very small. So if I have all these curves selected, I'm going to zoom out again and I'm just going to scale them up. Oh boy, this is not scaling up a lot. So I guess you have to zoom in and scale like, yeah. Oop. Like this. Okay, so also I'm going to press Ctrl J to join them and Shift Ctrl Alt C to bring the origin to the center of mass. And then I'm going to press Alt P. No, not Alt P. Oh no, Alt G. Okay. Alt G to reset the position. Yeah. G for position, of course. And I'm going to just call this face. So one thing you can do, but this didn't work last time, so it might not now. If I extrude, no, it doesn't work. Something strange is going on. If you use like 2D vectors, if you make them in Blender, there's no problem with using the extrude, but if I go slightly here, it already pushes it to the top. If somebody knows why this is, inform me. But I'm just gonna Alt-C this and convert this to a mesh. So now I have a mesh with this data in it. I'm just gonna go, you can do this by solidifying it, but that also does some strange stuff. Holy cow, what's happening? So let's do this in edit mode and just extrude this like all the way up here. I'm just also gonna delete this thing to be clear what I have. So I'm just gonna move this to the first layer again. And I should have this here. I'm gonna rotate this 90 degrees. And I'm gonna align this with my pumpkin, like the way I want it. If you want it really big on there, I'm gonna show you how to do it. And then we just wanna slice this in here. Just imagine you have this shape, you're just pushing into the pumpkin to get the shape out. So you really wanna have, you really wanna make sure that you don't have any pieces sticking out, that it's completely in there. And also that you don't have anything like in there, but that the shape aligns with the pumpkin completely. So we're going to select our pumpkin again, and we're going into the modifiers. So now it kind of depends on what kind of detail you have on your excuse me, detail you have on your face. Yeah, because we're gonna need the detail on the pumpkin to cut this out without losing, well, having too much detail work to work with, or yeah, it's gonna be clear in a second. So once you get your face in there, we're gonna bring this subdivision to 2 of the pumpkin, and we're gonna bring in a Boolean modifier. And on the Boolean modifier, we can choose an object, mainly the face, to interact with like this object, and we're gonna use union. This should work. Yeah. No, not union. Intersect. No, not intersect. Difference. Yeah, that's the thing. So different. So if you go into here, you can see that it cuts into the shape, which is what we want to do. So if you hide our face here, you can see it cut the shape of the face into the pumpkin. So you can perhaps try this with one subdivision level, but yeah, it's gonna bring in some weird shapes, but you can do it if you really want to. For security reasons, I'm going to go with 2 subdivision levels. Should be good. We're gonna get rid of those pesky little normal artifacts. I'm gonna press apply and apply the Boolean. So I'm going into edit mode, and you can see here that we have a lot of tries and we have some very funky geometry, but we're not gonna bother with that. I'm gonna select one face here, and I want to select similar. I don't know what the shortcut is at the moment, and press normal. And I'm gonna make sure I didn't select any normals on the pumpkin itself. Okay, so it's just a face. And I'm gonna press Ctrl plus, and I should have only the inner. I see that I have a couple of extra faces selected here. I'm just gonna deselect them real quick. Select this one again. Okay, and then I want to press X to delete, and delete the faces. And now we have our pumpkin with our face carved into it. Okay, so how do we make this more realistic? Because momentarily this is like an object, and it has like this interior. It's not very beautiful. If you render this out, it's not gonna look very fancy. So we're gonna use a couple of modifiers. First and foremost, we're gonna use the solidify modifier. And on the thickness, we're gonna go bump this a little bit inside until you have like about this edge, like real pumpkins. But you can see some funky stuff going on. Yeah, like here and stuff. And for that, we're gonna increase the clamp modifier. So something like this. And don't worry about the ridges you see here, because they are actually more helpful than they hurt. So I'm gonna increase the thickness somewhat more. It's a weird artifact. Okay, and then we want to apply, because although I want to work as non-destructive as possible, you want to fix like these issues. For instance, I'm gonna try and select this one. Yeah, and just delete the faces, because there's no hole there. I hope no visible hole. Okay, because it's kind of getting messy now, and you want to fix like the messy parts manually to not have issues. Also, I'm gonna press Ctrl Z real quick. I'm gonna bring back the solidify, so press Ctrl Z if you can, if you're following along. I forgot one thing. So I already want to give this 2 materials, and I'm just gonna call this skin for the moment, and this flesh, to stay in the Halloween mood. And in the solidify modifier, I'm gonna go and set the material index offset to 1 each. So he will actually, if we are going to viewport color, we're gonna change this. He's gonna, let's change to orange, topical. You can see that he actually applies different shaders on the outer side and the inner side using the solidify modifier. So we don't have to manually do this later. So then apply, it'll keep the shader data. So once you got your pumpkin like this, we can use the sculpt mode to fix some of our artifacts here just by using the smooth brush. I'm gonna do it real quick here, and going back to object mode and fix like some of these things sticking out here. Come on, I'm trying to select the, oh yeah, to edge mode, select this and just bring it in like this. It won't bother that much. So yeah, this looks pretty cool. So once you got this bevel and this subdivision, you can yeah, you basically have your pumpkin. And we're going over to shading. So for shading this, we're first gonna add some lights to get some reference. So I'm gonna really quick add an environment texture of let's see here, Alex apartment. If we're gonna preview this, it's just a room, but I'm just gonna use this very lightly to get some warm lights from here and there. I'm gonna use the HDR. I'm just gonna put this on 0.3 or something. So this is not gonna do a lot. I'm also gonna get my preview samples to about 20. So yeah, it's very light. Well, it's very dark. Also gonna put this on previewing purposes to transparent under film. And now we can see our pumpkin. So if we really want to see our pumpkin, we're gonna add some lights. So I'm just gonna add some planes with emission shaders on them, like this. Now we have one light coming from here. And I'm just gonna also put some kind of rim light. I'm not gonna bother too much with the lightning at the moment. Something like that. Okay. I'm also gonna really quick gonna add in the emission, gonna add a little trick of making them transparent by plugging the camera array into a mix shader with the transparent shader, like this. Okay, so let's get into the pumpkin itself. So first we want to do the skin, which we're gonna do with, first of all, we're gonna bring up a basic Fresnel setup, like me and Cinecat Pro have showed you a million times by now. If you want to do a more in-depth reflection-based Fresnel reflection, go to Cinecat Pro's channel and check that out. I'm just going to use this basic one for easy purposes. I'm also going to bring in, for the coloring, I'm going to bring in a color ramp. Just going to plug this in here. And I'm going to plug this into an input, geometry, pointiness. So if we're going to preview this, you can see that we have this, we want to have like this contrast sticking out. Okay, that looks about good. We're going to add a node here, and we're just going to make this like pumpkin orange. The black, we want to make something more reddish to make it more alive, and the white to make it more organic. I'm gonna make like yellow. So this looks like pumpkin color. So once you plug this in the diffuse, you have something like this. Also perhaps gonna increase our light strength to yeah, to properly see this. Maybe even bring in the HDR for a moment to see the pumpkin a little bit better for previewing purposes. So once you got this set up, you want to bring in a noise texture and plug this in and scale it up. Bring in some detail. Well, pump up the detail all the way to 16 and bring in some distortion. You really want to have some, like, maybe bring this to 36. Yeah, something like this is good. Maybe bring this distortion even to 2. This should be good. Then bring in a vector bump node onto the height. so that we get something like this. Maybe I want to go less on the distortion actually. Maybe even 0.5 now that I see it in yeah, this should be good. And plug these bump nodes into the Fresnel, the diffuse and the glossy node. And we should have something like this, which looks like a pumpkin. It was really easy, nothing too shabby. Just gonna maybe adjust the color a bit. Yeah, I mean you can adjust it by your own liking. I think if you want to do more realistic, if you have like photographic renders, you might want to desaturate this a little bit. But if you're going really cartoony, you can make this really bright and really orange. It really depends on what style you're going for. Choose your own color, what complements your scene, composition stuff and all. And yeah, I'm going for this color. I like this color. Should be good. So yeah, that's about the let's see, did I forget something here? No. Okay, so yeah, that's our skin shader. So for the inner, for the flash, we're just gonna copy these nodes real quick. Delete this one, paste them. Oh, clipboard is empty apparently. Here we go. Plug this into the surface. And yeah, to preview the inner and already like prepare for how this is gonna look, we're gonna bring in a point light real quick in the middle of the pumpkin. So point light, gonna bring this up to 300 and make this light yellow, like this. Yeah, already looks a little bit scarier. So if you're going back to the node editor, for the inner we wanna like have a bit more of a skin color, so well, of the flesh color. You've all seen pumpkins from the inside, I guess. If not, look it up on the internet. And we want to have something that might be more orange, I guess. I'll put this all the way up here. Maybe make the lighter tones even going to some kind of pink, fruity color. Yeah, and this looks already a little bit better. Yeah, something like this. Looks cool. Again, yeah, I mean, apply it like how you want it to look, right? For colors, I'm gonna. You can maybe use less roughness on this, so it looks a little bit more specky. So it looks a little bit more wet, more fleshy, and maybe even for the skin. Yeah, 0.2 is good, but you know, want to make it a little bit shinier. Yeah, it really depends on how you want it to look. For the steel, it's really easy. We're just going to use the same as the skin. I'm going to press this plus. I'm going to call this steel. And we're just going to change these colors to different shades of green. Like this. Maybe keep the yellow in. And again, it really depends on what you want to look like. I'm going to make the steel because it's not that much of a center focus, a little bit more desaturated. But that looks good, yeah. So, and then you have kind of your pumpkin. So what I was talking about, the artifacts here, they kind of look like it's cut out flesh, so it doesn't really disturb. The little hole here is a nice little feature that got added. So if you want to extend this, you can always like model a candle within it. I would use a point light anyway, though, because if you place it smart enough. For instance, if we're gonna bring down our lights again, and I'm gonna bring in the node editor here real quick. By this point, it's just expanding what you're doing. I'm gonna bring the lights. You can also, to increase Halloweenness, you can bring in a film view in the color management. I'm gonna actually make this smaller and make this 2 different lights. And make this one kind of a bluish moonlight. It's always very Halloweeny. Maybe make it bigger. Like this. And this light we can like come from the bottom, which is more Halloweeny. And make it like a warm color. Yeah. There you go. We already have like a very interesting. So you can really expand this, how it should look. I'm gonna just bring in a camera in here. Place it right here. Gonna put this on 180 on 180. Yeah, like this. Oh, and I'm gonna bring camera a little bit more back. So make the floor darker. Something like this. Can also make the floor reflective to add even more scariness. If you put the point light higher or a little bit farther away and stronger, you can even create some nice like you can make the shadows also display the face. I guess I have to put it more up. And let's see here. Yeah, like this. And the smile is like shows on the downside. It's all like very artistic. If you wanna, I wouldn't try to make a very physically correct light. I mean, you can put a candle in here if you want to be like more realistic, put in more detail or a light. If you want to go really ghostly, then there's nothing in it. Like it's very scary. Yeah, you can go all out with this. It's basically not much work from here to really make your own style and do something with it. Oh yeah, one more thing. Just a quick tip. If you want to add some more randomness to your pumpkin, like because this is a very uniform pumpkin, right? You can go and add a a lettuce, and then just add a lettuce to the scene. Like this. Yeah, something like this. Okay, just add some more detail points, and then select the lettuce. You want to make this before the sub D, else he's gonna have to calculate. I'm just gonna put the view down to 1. Should be enough, or even down to 0 for previewing. And then I can even make this like this pumpkin sadder. Or even animate him. That would be cool. And just randomize how like the pumpkin looks. Like perhaps you want to also put in the lattice modifier on the steel. Like this. Yeah. It's gonna go along. Really stretch this out. Like this, and now you have a little bit more of an expressed pumpkin. So that's a quick little tip to add to the tutorial. So now it's gonna look even more sad. So yeah, that's basically how you make this kind of pumpkin. Yeah, the rest is lightning, adding a background, adding some cool details. That's basically how you do it. So yeah, show me your pumpkins. Post them in the comments down below. Also, like and subscribe as always. And have a happy Halloween.